One of the best ways to stimulate our muscles without overloading our joints is by using resistance bands. In this full body routine, I'm giving you a workout that emphasizes controlled movements, muscle activation, and joint integrity so that you can build muscle as well as improve your mobility at any age. So as we get started, I want you to begin by just taking a little bit of inventory of how your body is moving today. I want you to begin with your feet about hip-width apart. As you squat down, let's just notice the depth of our squat. Do your knees cave in? Do you notice any pain across your ankle, knees, or hips? Then from here, I want you to see if you can touch the ground. As you do this, walk your hands in front of you and see if you can just hover your knees slightly above the ground. This is going to give you some strength across your abdomen. From there, walk your hands back to your knees. See if you can go back down into your squat, and then pressing into your heels, come all the way up to standing by tightening up your muscles. Throughout this routine, I'm going to emphasize that you're continuously squeezing your muscles. Let's try that again. As we exhale, we come down. Notice if your back is rounding, if you're able to maintain that upright posture. Then as you take your hands to the floor, let's walk it out a little bit so that our knees are just slightly above the ground, holding that position, feeling that strength coming into our core. Then as you exhale, walk your hands back to your knees, go down into that squatting motion, and then press up through with the tops of your thighs. Now let's just try squatting down and up in some body weight squats. As we lower down, we notice the knees, the hips, the ankles bending, and there's just the opposite as we come up. So I want you to notice how your joints move from point A to point B. Does one side feel to be a little bit more compressive than the other? Do you notice some tightness today that maybe you didn't have yesterday? All this stuff will come into your workout. Let's do that one more time, and then we stay at the bottom. Place your hands on your legs, round your back, tighten your abdomen, bring your chin to your chest, and then as you inhale, extend your spine and look forward. Let's do that one more time, rounding your back, tucking under, and then as you inhale, lift your chest and look forward. Place your hands into your lower back, squeeze the glutes, raise the sternum, try to put as much space into your lumbar spine as you can, and release. Roll your shoulders a little bit, just noticing your mobility across the cervical spine. And then finally, as you inhale, let's reach both of those arms over the head, moving the arms to the floor. Reach that right shoulder to that fully flexed position, and then the left shoulder. See if you can do the same thing, reaching across your chest, just kind of taking notice of what your mobility feels like today. And then finally, just practice rotating from side to side. Good. Now, once you have that, I want you to just move your ankles a little bit, bend your knees a little bit, and we are going to get started. I want you to pick a band that you know you can use to move weight over your head. So I'm going to say a light or a medium band to start with. From here, I want you to step onto your band with both feet. Now remember that the area between your feet is not going to be used, but actually the area between your foot and your hand is what's going to be used. So I like to step my feet in first and then stretch the band between my feet. From there, I want you to grab the ends of the bands. Bending through your elbows, hold your bands directly out in front of your body. Then as you inhale, see if you can move your shoulders into a fully flexed position. Now, if that is doable for you, you've got the right band. If not, you may want to go back to body weight or a lighter band. From here, I want you to go down into your squat. Now, when you squat, let your arms shift forward. This is going to put a little bit more resistance into the shoulder itself. Now, using the strength of your legs, I want you to feel that stretch of your band as you come to standing. Then we follow it through by moving those shoulders into a full shoulder press. Now, this exercise, go ahead and come down and try it again, is really going to help you with reaching overhead and keeping good posture. You notice that when you bring your arms, your shoulders rather, into that flexed position, you can't do that with a rounded back. You have to really maintain that thoracic extension. Now, this is what I would consider a multi-joint exercise. And this is wonderful to do because we want to try to put a lot of growth hormone, testosterone, into our body. We want our brain to have to release this because it's actually we're giving it a reason to build muscle. We're putting resistance, we're putting tension, stimulus on the muscular system. And that is how we build muscle. And quite contrary to what people think, it's not necessarily about lifting super heavy. So many times people lift so heavy, they get so sore the next day that they either get injured or they can't repeat anything the next day, and so they skip 2 or 3 days when they could be actually moving. It's really, hypertrophy is more about the number of repetitions and how long you're under tension. So that consistency factor remains to be the most important component of building muscle. Not to mention your sleep, your recovery, your nutrition, and your hydration. Let's go 4 more to go. Here's 4. Press in, push that through that fully flexed position, and 3. And squatting down, 2 more times. Pushing back up, and last time. So let's just hold at the bottom, move those shoulders into a flexed position, maintaining your body's position. Let's hold for 5, 6, maintain that stretch in your band, 7, and 8. As you come back out of that, go ahead and step out of your band and notice how that feels as you roll your shoulders a little bit. Okay, now the next exercise is going to be what's called the Bulgarian split squat. This is still a squatting exercise, but we're now splitting up the two. If you feel like you need a little bit more resistance, I would invite you to double up the band for this exercise. As you do this, I want you to take one foot out in front of your body and just simply place the bands underneath your foot. From there, we want to turn our palms up towards the ceiling so that we're in a supinated position. I want you to take your trailing leg now and step it back. Now when you step it back, it needs to be in line with your hip, not crossed over the line into the center of the body. Make sure that you're stepping hip distance apart. I'm going to keep my heel perpendicular to my toes, so I'm not putting any stress on my Achilles tendon. Now from here, with your chest lifted, your arms by your side, you're still in that supinated position with your chest lifted. I want you to squeeze into your back glute. For the first exercise, let's just focus on the lower body. As we lower it down, you notice that the band reduces its tension. We're actually taking the stretch out of the band. On the way up, I want you to use your forward leg, feel that stretch from the band coming in, and just tighten the upper thigh. Let's do that again. As we lower that down, make sure your knee is not traveling to the inside of your foot. Dig your heel into the floor, tighten your quadricep muscle, and come all the way to standing. Now, for some reason, if this bothers your back toes, you can step your back foot closer in. That will also help with some balance challenge you may be feeling. And then after every time you stand, you can put your heel back down. So the exercise might look something like this. And here's one rule. If you get to the bottom of the exercise that we call typically where the bend and the joint is going to be greater, this is the concentric phase. If your band is getting loose, you either need to tighten up your band or go with something a little bit more resistant, a thicker band itself, okay? So I'm gonna go right back down here. Now I want you to go all the way back down into your squat. From here, I have a little distance from my shoulder to my arm. I'm gonna increase my time under tension here. So now I'm gonna add a little bicep curl. Now if that band is too much, obviously take a band off. I want you to feel the muscles in the front of the arm itself. Then on the way up, I actually have a little bit more band, a little bit more resistance to work with. Now if you put these two together, coming into that bicep curl and lunge at the same time, what you're gonna notice is there's a little bit more stretch at the bottom of the squat or this lunging position, and our legs are gonna be working a little harder. Not to mention, I am getting more done. I'm actually working muscles across multiple joints. Not to say that isolation work doesn't have a place. I love just working my biceps just to build my biceps, and I do that kind of stuff all the time. But for this workout, we're focusing on more total body. So again, we're squeezing it in. I want you to notice how you're moving. You're not trying to go too fast. You are not under a time element here. There's nobody monitoring your speed. I want you to move in a way that you can control your joint motion. Your knee should always be pointing directly in front of your hip and in the same direction as where your foot is pointing. Your back knee is pointing down to the floor, your chest is remaining lifted, and your shoulders are down out of your neck. Again, coming down into that lunge and in. Now I want you to try to hold the bottom now. As you get to the bottom now, let's just perform a bicep curl, squeezing it in and lowering it down. Again, squeezing it in and bringing it down. So let's go for 4 more. Make sure you're not putting any kind of tension in your ankle and your back foot. If your toe is bothering you, go ahead and put that foot down flat, no big deal. And let's step it up and release it. All right, so now I'm just gonna increase my tension on the second exercise. So I want to take my band now and step it with 2 feet, making sure that the band is equal on each side. From there, I'm walking my hands down to the end of the band itself. All right, so again, from the inhalation breath, your stretch between your feet, I want you to flex into your shoulders and see if you're capable of pushing those bands over your head. As we exhale, we squat down. On the inhalation breath, we're pushing that right back up to the center. Again, exhale, coming down, and then inhale, pressing that back up to the center. Now, when you're talking about building muscle, let's say that when we add that second band on this second exercise, all of a sudden my form just goes out the window. I can no longer bring my arms over my head. I can't fully elevate my shoulders. I can't extend my elbows. Or maybe it's putting a lot more stress on my lower back. Then you know what? The increase of resistance doesn't matter, right? What's important is joint integrity. We want to work out in a way that we can work out again the next day. 2 more times, and 1 more, bringing it down, and releasing that. All right, so let's take that off, step out of the band, and just notice how you're feeling. Okay, so we've taken a little bit of a break. Now we're ready to hit those arm muscles for a second set. So I want you to place the other leg, and I had my back leg, so I'm just gonna step it in the band. From here, I'm gonna change my orientation. I want you to turn your thumbs up. This is a little bit more of a neutral grip for the elbow flexors. Facing the front of your mat now, let's step the back leg back so that your foot is in line with your hip joint. There's about 6 inches between your feet left to right and about 2.5 to 3 feet between the forward foot and the back foot. From here, bring your chest up and your sternum lifted, and I want you to lower yourself down. At the bottom of that squat, your band can be a little loose, but not so much where it's just flopping here, right? So on your inhalation breath now, I want you to push through that forward leg and work on tightening the upper thigh. Again, exhale, bending at the knee, bending at the hip, then driving through the foot and engaging the front of your leg. Last time, exhale, holding. And now let's come into a bicep curl. This time I want you to point your thumb straight up to the ceiling. This is a more of a neutral grip. Then as you come out of that position, we extend from the elbows. Let's do that again, bringing that down. And you may notice one of your feet feels fine doing this exercise, but the other one, it does not. If that's the case, remember, I could step that back foot back and bring it in closer so I have more of my weight in my forward foot, or I could keep it back here, and then as I come out of the exercise, I could lower my heel down. Your balance is very important here, being able to balance from one foot to the next. Let's go 4 more, and bring it back through, and 3. Keep those hips level. Remember, it's all about squeezing your muscles. 2 more. And now let's just stay at the bottom and hold it there. As we hold it there, we're just gonna squeeze the bicep and back down. Squeeze to the biceps and back down. The rest of the body is maintaining. So this band has relationship to every joint in your body, your knees, your hips, your spine, everything, and your shoulders. Let's go 2 more times, bring it in. And 1 more time. Then we release that back out. All right. So as we're doing this, let's take one of our bands now and step it out. As we step it out, we're left with this one single band. I want you to go back into your squatting position. So if I bring this band equally between my feet, we want to get a little bit of tricep love here. I want to make sure that my band is equal on both sides. From here, I want you to drop down into your squatting position. Reach down closer to your feet, maybe about halfway down. That can always change if need be. Keeping your sternum lifted, I want you to inhale and come into a rowing motion. Now when you come into the row, you should notice is that the rear shoulder muscles are in fact kicking in. So stay low in your squat position. As you exhale, I want to see if you can now extend the elbows. Now this is a really cool exercise. Bending your elbows in, straighten your arms, and come all the way up to the top. Holding a dumbbell is really tough for a lot of people because when I come down here, the moment I straighten my arms, that dumbbell is twice as far from the shoulder, and it's creating a lot of forces through the shoulder. Now, granted, we still have, the band is still at a distance from the shoulder, but the band is not, the resistance line is going back to the feet, not straight down from my hands. So I'm actually going to be able to do this exercise a lot easier with the band than with a dumbbell. So let's do that again. Squatting down, kick back, bring it in, and you're all the way through. So again, great exercise. I'm using my lower body, I'm using my rear shoulder muscles, and I'm using my elbow extensors. Nice. Bringing it back, press in, and come all the way up to the top. Squatting down, shoulders out of the neck, squeeze. And this is another one. A lot of times when people do this exercise, because their shoulders are getting so fatigued, they never fully straighten their elbows. So let's take this opportunity, everybody out there, to really work on engaging your tricep muscles, the back of your arms. And I know you've seen the Charlie Brown teacher, right? Or you've heard the Charlie Brown teacher. They have the hand on the chalkboard and they're writing and they have those floppy arms or whatever. That's not going to be us, right? We're going to work on developing strength into our triceps. Let's go 2 more times. And now I want you to see if you can maintain your position. So this is going to require some stability on our part, some ability to hold a position. Now come into that fully retract position and we just focus on extension and flexion. Now here's what you want to do. Try to keep the upper arm from moving. Keep it nice and static. Squeezing it back and in. Back and in. Hold 5. 2 more. And now let's just hold it here for 5, 6, 7, and come all the way out. And I'm sure that your lower body is absolutely feeling that right now. Okay, let's change it up and let's move into our back. Now, bands are also a great way to produce exercises for your back, whereas dumbbells are sometimes limited because, again, I've got to position myself against gravity, which enables me to have to bend forward. So let's start with one band on this first one. Take a little bit of space between your hands and bring the band up to about chest level. As you bring it up to chest level, let's move the hands apart. And as this band stretches apart, it gets closer and closer to us, which reduces the distance between our spine, our shoulders, and the band. But the stretch of the band is also increasing to try to balance that out. So as we come back to the center, we're here. Then as we squeeze back, we're here. So this is great for working the mid-back, upper back, as well as those shoulder retractors that we always need when we're thinking about being in that seated position. All right, so now let's incorporate a little bit of upper body. I want you to step your feet apart about hip width, and we're gonna come into what's called a sumo squat. This is great for those of you with long legs and shorter torsos. So I want you to bend your knees and notice where your knees are pointing. If your knees are inside of your feet, then you're gonna have to turn your feet in a little bit, right? But I want you to try to use the muscles on the outside of your hip to maintain what we call the turnout, right? Now from here, I want you to move your shoulders back into the center again. And I'm just gonna double up my band, okay? So I'm taking 2 of them. Now that is actually a little harder than grabbing that second smaller one. So as we hold this here, I want you to lift up into your chest and sternum. On your inhale, I want you to squeeze between your shoulders and hold that retracted position. Then as you exhale, I want you to come all the way back up into the center. Let's try that again. As we go down into our sumo squat, let's feel the outside of the hips. Then as you inhale, we pinch our shoulder blades together. Then coming back to the middle, let's move ourselves back into the center. Again, taking it down, squeeze, pull apart, back in the middle, and up, and again, squat down, pull apart, back in, and lift. Last one, squat, in, back, and center. Nice work. All right, so now let's just flex our knees going from the right and back to the center and the left. And I know a lot of people, as they age, they develop knee pain, they develop hip pain, and they're afraid to do these kinds of exercises. When we don't keep the muscles that cross our knees and hips strong, we are setting ourselves up for more problems. So find a way you can do this, even if that means you're not going down very far. Now to minimize the wear and tear, I want you to just hold this over here. So we're gonna maintain and stabilize the joint from the hip to the knee to the ankle and keep that upright position. Now, taking your band one thickness or two, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter. It matters what you can handle, right? And let's now move our shoulders into that fully flexed position. Now, keeping the left shoulder where it is, I want you to take your right shoulder and move it down and away. And I'm just gonna go ahead and bend my elbow. So I'm driving my elbow down to my waist, then moving that right back up to the center. So let's try that again. I'm stretching the band, pulling it down. Now, if you get tired, just straighten your knee, no big deal. You can come back to this video as many times as you like, bringing it down, squeezing, and back in. Now, this is a wonderful exercise to develop strength in your lats, right? Your back. This is your wingspan, bringing it down and coming back through. Now, let's start extending the knee as we go up and then flexing the knee as we come down. Now again, we want to maintain our joint alignment, right? So when I bend, my knee should point in the same direction as my foot, right? As we exhale, coming back down and bring it in. If this bothers you, just stand like normal or hold the position like we were doing before. Let's go for 3. Now this arm that's overhead is having a big roll, right? And 2. Good. One more time, we pull down, working into our lats, coming back through and releasing it. All right, so now we're still in this stance. Go ahead and resituate yourself if needed and roll your shoulders back. Now here's where you have to think. If I want to keep going through this workout, if you feel like you're not being challenged enough, you can put in more effort or add a second band. By the same token, if it's too challenging, here's the time to get rid of a band, right? So now let's come into that flex position at the shoulder. Inhale, breath. Exhale, squat down, lifting up through your chest, keeping your sternum lifted. Okay, so from here again, let's pinch the shoulder blades together, bring them back to the center, and then come back into standing. Let's try that again. We're squatting down, pull that band into the chest, pinching your shoulder blades together, back in, and through. So let's see if we can't put those together again. As we squat, we pull in. And this coordination, that's what I was talking about with the idea of improving our motor control. This is what really keeps our joints safe, squeezing it out. I started lifting weights, believe it or not, I'm in my 50s making this video, and I started lifting weights when I was 13. That's how long I've been trying to do this. And I have to tell you, over the years, I have never stopped learning, never stopped learning. It is something that you will participate in for your life, I hope. Squeezing it down for 3. Good job. And 2. Good, and 1 more time. So let's just hold this here for 5, 6, 7, 8, and come back up. All right, now you should really be feeling your back, and that's exactly what we want. We want these muscles to be so strong that no one ever has to tell you to sit up straight. It just feels like normal to sit up straight. So now let's look at the other side. Now I have had a knee surgery on this side that was pretty significant. And over the years I was told to never squat or to never lunge again, and I never have stopped. For over 4 decades I've never stopped. And I have to sometimes be mindful. Some days I have, my knee hurts a little more or whatever. But over the years, keeping these muscles strong and moving my joints has saved me, not made things worse. So I'm just gonna hold that there, lifting up to the sternum. Let's move those shoulders into that fully flexed position. So just like we did before, I'm gonna pull the band apart. I'm dropping the shoulder, you see how I did that? Out of my neck. Then I'm pulling into a big wide arcing motion, driving my elbow to the waist. So this is gonna stimulate depression of the shoulder, my lats being a big one. Then I'm gonna keep that stretch on the band as I return it back to the center. So again, I'm going outward and down, and then in and up. Again, out and down, in and up. Very nice. Out and down, in and up. Out and down, in and up. So let's go for 5, and back through, 6, and back through. Here's 7, and one more time for 8. So let's go ahead and allow our knee to come out of the position on the inhale. Then as we come back down, we drop. Now commonly when we're thinking of hypertrophy training, meaning building muscle, most of the literature is going to say somewhere falling between the 8 to 15 repetition mark. Some studies as much as 30 repetitions. I tend to think if you can do 30 repetitions and you're not experiencing anything, then you probably need to increase your effort or somehow alter your mechanics, meaning move further away from the weight, add more weight, whatever. Let's go 2 more to make it feel more resistant. 1 more time and hold it here for 5, squeezing 6, 7, 8, and come back in. All right. So now let's just heel toe our feet back in. We've been separated for a while, and just notice how that feels. How does your back feel? Hopefully you're not experiencing any joint pain whatsoever. So for the next exercise, I'm going to work on hip abduction. Now, because the hip abductors are in fact so strong, or at least they should be, I'm going to go ahead and double up my bands. If you don't want to do that, it's totally fine. From here, as I hold on to my 2 TheraBands, I'm just going to step right in the center. Now, this is one of those exercises where the space between your feet is going to matter quite a bit. From here, I'm just going to crisscross my bands so that I have one arm reaching across from the other. Now, this exercise is going to accomplish one of 2 things. Number 1, it's going to train the outer hip because I've got resistance coming across, but it's also going to improve our balance because there's going to be a point where we're standing on one leg. So what I want you to do is shift your weight to your right and see if you can pick up your left leg and then bring that right back down. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Picking up the weight, or leg rather, and then bringing that back down. So every time I pick up my leg, I'm going to stretch through my band and then back to the center. Then again, I'm stretching through my band and back to the center. So let's go a little faster with that. Up and back down. Up and back down. Kicking through the band. And you'd be surprised, your ability to balance will be enhanced by the fact that we have resistance on the outer hip. A lot of the reasons why we lose our balance is because our hip muscles are actually weak. And this is a tough exercise, I won't lie. Squeeze it out for 8 and 7, 6, good, really pushing out through that band. 4 more to go, here's 4 and 3, 2 more times, and 1. All right, so as we lower that down now, I want to take the band coming from across this way. I'm going to go with 1 band a little bit lighter and place it in my hand. From there, I just want to take my hand and internally rotate it just a bit. From there, I'm hooking my thumb under the band. As I bring that band up and out to the side, I'm just going to wrap my band around it, come into that sort of lateral raise, then I'm internally rotating it across the thumb and bringing it across the body. So again, as I externally rotate through the shoulder, I'm coming into abduction and then bringing that right back out. Now, if you want to make this a little harder, you could step 1 foot out of the band and bring it behind. So that way, when you bring this arm up, you actually are maintaining some resistance. In other words, you have some space between your shoulder and the band, which is a really important component of biomechanics. If it's too hard, however, if you're feeling like this is too much, you have a couple of options. You can get rid of the band entirely, which gravity is a thing. You can reduce the amount of thickness of the band that you're using. You can make the band longer, or you can bring your body weight closer to the band. Those are more than 2 options. Those are like 4 options. So one of those should work. And this is a great exercise for most people, especially if you're involved in pickleball and tennis and all these rotational sports, even swimming. You want the rotation of your shoulder to be sound. Let's go 2 more times. And even though I could go fast, I'm not. So let's come up to the top and hold it here now for 5, 6, 7, 8, and release it. So now let's go into our second set. I'm just going to take my bands once again. This time, I'm actually going to keep my bands uncrossed, and let's just see how this feels. I'm going to go down in resistance a little bit. I want you to squat down and push into the band. Squat, push into the band. You may notice that you have a larger distance to travel in now because we have reduced the across the body attachment that reduced our actual resistance. Down and push up, down, press out and up, down, press out and up. And if you need to do this against a wall, just eliminate the squat and only do the abduction piece. So it looks something like this. I'd just be against the wall doing this. And that's a great way to work on your balance over time. Let's go for 3, and 2, and 1. Let it go and release it. So I'm taking this band on the opposite side. I'm gonna go with my lighter resistance. You can always make that band longer if needed. And I'm starting with my shoulder internally rotated. I'm gonna grab the band, then I'm taking my thumb and I'm hooking it under the band itself. So from there now, what I'm gonna do is I'm externally rotating through the shoulder, coming into that abducted position. Then I wanna internally rotate it and come across. So if you think about it, the hip exercise that we just finished is very similar to this exercise that we're doing right now. Both of them are moving weight, or moving the band rather, moving our limbs away from the center of our body. Good. So again, if I want to make it harder, I could step back, coming out of the band and back in. Up and out and back in. If your shoulder feels really good and you want to practice kind of a quicker pace, remember, bands are not going to pick up inertia like a free weight would. It's not going to get faster just because, or increase its resistance, just because we've sped it up, right? So let's go for 3. Great job. And 2. Good. One more time. And release it. So that was 6 bodybuilding, 6 muscle building exercises. Roll your shoulders around now and notice if your range of motion feels different. I know it does for me. Bring both of the arms over the head. You should almost feel like your shoulders are floating up to the ceiling. And now when you bring your shoulders out in front of you, notice how your spine feels. Bend forward, take your hands onto your hips, round your back, tuck your pelvis and tighten your abs. Inhale, flatten your back, come all the way to the center. Take one of your legs up to the center. Do you feel like your balance is actually improved a little bit, right? Does your rotation feel a little bit better after performing this workout? I hope that you enjoyed this. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends if you know that anyone that I can help, and obviously subscribe to the channel so that you never have to miss another video. If you'd like more workouts like this, head over to my platform, Fitness Integrated Science TV, where I have hundreds of workout videos that deal with building muscle, maintaining muscle, ages 50 and up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.